Alright, we got in a subwoofer with a bad power supply. It's got some obviously bulged caps on it. Let's get into this. So as you can see, it's got the silicone holding them in because these things are inside an acoustic case. They're subject to a lot of percussion, I guess you'd call it. There's a lot of movement inside. Let's see if we can dental these things out. Did you hear that guy pop? I know some people might be cringing at me doing this, but you know what? It is what it is. Now the thing to be careful with some of this silicone adhesive like this is if there's other components. Let's see if this one's going to pop too. Yeah, so they weren't, I don't think they had actually blown yet. But that's one way to get them out of there. Now, when you're doing that, you got to be careful. This epoxy, or this silicone adhesive could be holding other things. Like we've got all this going on here with these coils. What we can try is a chisel blade, and I'm going to lean right in on the cap itself because I'm not worried about damaging the cap. Just scrape right down the sides of it so we get as much of that loose as we can without nicking these other components. See, that's feeling pretty good. Again, I don't care if I'm damaging the case at all of the capacitor because they're done. They're coming out anyway. I do want to be careful of other stuff. I do see that I'm moving those coils a bit. Come on, stick with me. I didn't want to take this whole board out because all this is epoxied in. I'd rather do less work. And I'm aware that there's no other components underneath this thing. When we get to the other side, I'll show you what I'm talking about. We've still got to get the legs out, so we're not out of the woods yet. This might have been easier to heat those up and get them out, but we're going to find out. So now over here, let me zoom in and show you. On these two, we've got some solid caps right at the bottom of them. So we don't want to rip those out. And we can see the other one over there. If you can't see those components, sometimes what you can do is you can go to the back and ID where are these caps at. So we've got these 3 transistors, which we can see are these 3 solder joints, and these 3 solder joints. Now these 2 and these 2 are the caps we just pulled. So let's look further on. So here's 2 legs, here's 2 legs of the cap, and here's those 2 solid caps. I see no other solder joints around. So all we need to do is watch out for those 2 solids. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in and we're going to shear off carefully that silicone adhesive. You can see that guy's floating around. And I'd like to make sure he's broke free from that solid. So let's try this by getting these solder joints. We got some wires in the way. See if we can work around that. It's a little fun to try and get in here. So I'm trying to get a hold of this cap here. It's moving around. Let's try this here. So I've got that wedged under there. Let's try and ID where did those go now. It's these two. Let's step back a minute. Let's get some solder on these. Loosen those up. So I'm just trying to wet these two solder pads to get them to flow a little better. And maybe lead-free solder on there. We'll get some leaded in there that'll lower the melt temp a bit. So I'm just prying up on this cap. You can see it's already pulled up. So I'm actually pulling one of the legs out as I do this, as I force it out. There's the other one. You can't really see it that well. But there's the cap out. So let's try the other one. I'm actually finding it's better to pull up on this. So I'll go to the bottom leg, and that wire just pulled out. Now I've got the whole cap in my fingers, and it's out. And everything's still in place. We can get some of the silicone out of here. Okay, let's get some of that out of there. Let's clear our area a bit. And again, I'm being careful not to nick those coils. And we're right up on the pins of those. I might take a moment here and probe those transistors. We'll get the legs of these wires out, or these capacitors out. And we still got the fun job of getting that solder and those leads out of there. And this thing does not lend itself to being fun to position. Let's see if that'll work for us. Now I'm going to break out the big dog for this one. think it's getting it out. Just can't get dead on it. A little blood involved. So where were the other ones? Here somewhere? Or here and here? Or here and here? This got some SMD right on it. And we're going to wet those too. We didn't wet these. And I don't like that we're right up on those SMDs like that. So I'm going to alternate back and forth. So you know what? If we can get a hold of that lead, that's that one out. So I'm wetting that joint and I can see the wire starts moving. Okay, that's that one out. Where's our other two? Here, yeah. So I'll watch my time and temperature on these things because I don't want that SMD coming loose. Did I get something out of there? Couldn't tell. Where's our last one? Okay, there's that one. I guess we could look on the other side too and see if it's clear. Alright, let's continue on solder sucking. So if I do this one, and then I move up here, it gives that SMD a little time to cool off. I'll go back down to this one. Alright, I think we're clear. Two, 4, 6, 8. Am I missing something? Yeah, I'm missing these guys. So I've still got these 4 right here. Let's wet those. I'm going to wet all 4 of them first. Come on. Must be a ground plane. It's taking a lot of heat. You can see that's a pretty good sized plane too. Now where did we go? Where'd they go? Lost them. Oh, these 4. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's get the solder sucker. This is a little tricky when you do this because that solder sucker wants to push your iron and you could scrape traces. This is pretty robust, so it's not giving me that much of a problem. Those should all be clear. Okay, that looks good. Let's bring in our new caps. Same values. These were all 470s at 50 volt. 470 at 50 volts. You can see how it's got the black ring on the bottom. So this is your negative, this is your negative. Now, how do we look? So I don't know what happened there. The whole thing just stopped recording. You missed me loading up my iron with solder and going in and soldering all these legs. It was good stuff too. So what I did was I disconnected these leads that go to the amplifier, and I'm making sure that none of these are touching before I power this thing up. Now at this point we're going to start hitting live voltage on this thing. So I'm not sure what I can do to hold this thing. Let's try and get this set up in some way. To stand this up. And let's see if we can't get some power in here. Now I may have mentioned at this point we're going to be putting mains voltage into this thing, so you want to know what you're doing and be careful. Excuse me. We're going to probe it up and see if we don't get something. So let's bring in our line. Where's it here? So we're now bringing in AC, and again, like I said, if you don't know how to deal with mains voltage, don't be doing work like this. Okay, nothing blew up. Let's see what we've got here. Do we have our 5 volt standby? Actually, you know what? Hold on, back up. We need to go back here. I think there's something back here that's off or auto. I'm going to put it on auto. From what I understand is it'll stay on for like 20 minutes. So let's see if we've got our 5 volts now. Can you see that? Not at all. Too much glare. Still not seeing 5 volts. I'm not really sure where I want to probe here. So we should have our AC right here. I wonder if we've got a bad fuse. You know what would help? If I actually turn the isolation on. Okay, nothing blew up that time. Because I think we're actually hot now. Yep, there's our 120. Let's go back and check our 5. Okay, we got our 5 volts, so I've got it reversed, but let's go this way. So, do you think we're going to have something here? I'm not sure. Black and red. Let's see what we get here. See, we may not get anything here yet. I think we're going to have to change out those amp caps before we can get back to it. You know what, let's wrap this for now. I'll do the next one, we'll do the amp caps, and then we'll fire it up and see where we're at. Like, subscribe, see you next time.